Hi, I'm Priya Kapil, and today I'm going to be talking about Venus retrograde and how that affects the area of love and relationships. So Venus will be going retrograde from 13th of May to the 25th of June this year. So what does that mean for love and relationships? Watch to find out. So firstly, what does Venus represent? Venus represents things like beauty, love, romance, relationships, luxury items, finances and so on. So when it goes retrograde, some of our expectations and perceptions relating to these things seem to change. Okay? So retrograde is effectively when a planet is so close to the Earth that it appears to be going backward. Hence, that closeness to the Earth makes us feel more sensitive, and the things associated with that planet become stronger in our minds, and we pay more attention to them. So, with regards to relationships, this retrograde is going to be in the house of Taurus. So, Taurus is a very materialistic sign. It's an Earth sign. So what I see is that there's going to be issues relating to finances or money being brought up within a relationship. This could be, for example, if one person is the main breadwinner, they might have a certain resentment or bring up the fact that they're being taken for granted or they're not valued enough, and this can lead to arguments and so on. Similarly, the opposite side of that can be where a person is dependent on somebody else and they start to question their self-worth, their identity in a relationship, and almost have a lack of security with regards to the whole financial side within a relationship. Now, the thing is that Venus retrograde causes us to really reassess our relationships. So we're looking at everything with a magnifying glass. So if there are any issues or any cracks, this is the time when they're likely to come to the forefront. And because that analyzing is happening in such in such a strong way subconsciously, sometimes the feelings that are associated with it, they don't come out in the right way, and this can lead to being very hot-headed and bring the issues up in a very argumentative type of way. Now, when that is happening, obviously that creates more tension and frustration within a relationship, and scope to escalate matters. So one of the things that I would say in terms of advice is that certainly, have that assessment of your relationship, of the self-worth aspect, because obviously that's something that people grow with, but try to rationalize your thoughts and, make them quite logical, so that when they are brought up with your partner, it's in a calm, productive environment where that constructive criticism, if that's what it is, can be given in a way where solutions are sought, rather than putting allegations or being very defensive or pointing the finger type of way. So something to note on that side. In regards to the feeling of self-worth, another point to note is that sometimes there will be a feeling within this retrograde that we're not getting the attention that we deserve. So the whole value concept is brought up in a relationship. Okay, so that means that one or the other partner can suddenly feel that they deserve a lot more, and the partner is not doing enough for them. But what I would say is also question yourself: are you doing enough for your partner? Are you giving them what they deserve? So it's not unnatural to have these feelings, but also see the other side of it and then try to deal with it in the right way. Okay, so the whole getting what you deserve can be a big theme in this whole Venus retrograde as well. One of the other things is that Venus retrograde represents revisiting old issues. Okay, so if, for example, there have been occasions in the past which have caused major hiccups, they can be brought up again within this time period. So say, for example, there has been a big cause of concern in the past. For example, there was an affair and you've worked through that and you've kind of laid that to rest. This can be the time when that's brought up again. and all the old memories, all the feelings associated can come back and cause the boat to be rocked. So again, try to deal with that in a very sensitive way, and in a way which is a calming type of way, so to speak, where you're trying to address the needs and deal with things that haven't been dealt with properly. So if it is being brought up again, then that looks like there is some underlying thoughts or some sort of concerns that haven't been dealt with, and so this is a time where you may actually have to bring up and go over it all over again. Revisiting the past is a topic where you can say it's not just related to the things like affairs. It can be related to old partners, ex-partners coming back. So one of the things is that in Venus retrograde, sometimes our barriers are down. Okay, so we're kind of already in that situation where we're thinking about how a relationship is it right, is it something you want to continue with, and so on. And then at the same time, it's very possible that an ex-partner or old flame suddenly sends that text, makes that call, or you bump into them. So if you have had any, sort of recent breakups or so on, this is again a time where someone can contact you from the past and bring up old feelings and old memories and so on that make you question whether you've done the right thing by leaving that person, or are you doing the right thing continuing in another relationship without them. What I would say that sometimes the feelings that we have can be a bit misguided in this period, okay, because we seem to think that the grass is greener on the other side. And that's a very natural feeling to have, but if you go with that feeling, sometimes you can regret it after the Venus retrograde period is over. So what I would say is be very careful about decisions that you make in this period. And for this reason, we usually say that try to avoid any major decisions until after the retrograde period for relationships. Okay. Sometimes when people come back from the past, it's usually just to finish off what's happened and put that to bed. It doesn't always mean that you need to go back to them, but sometimes if something is meant to happen, meant to be in a karmic, very karmic sort of way, then it will happen. So a lot of relationships also tend to break within the Venus retrograde period, and the reasons for that is usually that they've kind of passed their worth in a way. The journey that you're supposed to be with that person has kind of come to an end. You've done the learning that you needed to with that person, and so it's a very karmic sort of intervention in a way when the breakups do happen within this period. Okay, so again, some sort of thing coming back from the past is very possible. Alongside that, with regards to the whole affair thing again, what I would say is that be careful that you're not attracted to a person outside of your relationship just because things are not going well in the current relationship that you're in. Okay, Venus retrograde can be known to sort of increase the infatuation type of feeling for someone. And just to see where it goes, where it leads to, and taking comfort with somebody else whilst you're in a relationship can be something that you'll regret later and can have long-lasting consequences. So something to ensure that yes, your barrier can be down, your guard can be down, but always think of what is that cost, and is it really something that you want to sacrifice should you choose to take this decision of being with somebody else when you're already in a relationship. Okay. What about new relationships? So Venus retrograde, we've covered current relationships, the issues that can come about, revisiting the past as well. But what about new relationships? If you meet someone during this period, what should you be doing? Now, the thing is that sometimes when you're attracted to someone or someone comes into your life, it's not always in our control on when we can develop that relationship, how quickly it progresses. It's usually something that happens quite spontaneously and naturally. But the general retrograde advice is that new relations shouldn't really be started within a retrograde period, because our perceptions and our expectations and attitudes to what we want in a partner can be very different to what we normally feel. So it can be, that we, a person ends up dating someone and has a sort of short-term romance with them. But then after a retrograde, they're suddenly thinking, what on earth was I thinking being with this person? Because they're not the typical person that, they would go for. So there is that as well. And it's for that reason also, it is usually said that you shouldn't start anything new within a retrograde period. This also applies to any sort of, taking any risks financially as well, that they should be avoided because our thinking and perceptions are a bit different to normal. But what I would say is that if you are drawn to somebody new within this period and you decide to have a relationship and it lasts, it's usually one of a karmic significance. It's not to say it doesn't come out without its struggles. It does. It tends to have a lot of struggles, anything started within a retrograde period, especially Venus retrograde, in terms of relationships. But the struggles that come about and the issues that are faced, they can be very karmic, related to past debts, related to the learnings that you need to be going through in this lifetime in order to move forward and evolve. So the person that you're with is likely to be someone who's connected to you from the past, if that makes sense. And so you can see obviously where it will go, but what I would say is that be prepared for the issues and or the struggles or the learnings rather that come with that. Okay, and also it is a time when breakups, when they happen, they seem to be very very sudden in this period, the Venus retrograde. They seem to be very sudden, and it's almost like the end of a chapter and a new beginning, ready to move on to something new and fresh and something that revives you. So it's not always a bad thing to move on or to be with somebody new. Okay. A lot of people try to change their appearance during Venus retrograde. They may have a new haircut, they may dye their hair, they might go for that new exercise regime and so on. So a lot of making yourself feel different or look different becomes quite an important factor within Venus retrograde, because suddenly the focus is on yourself and how you appear to others. Again, a matter of perception, and also how other people perceive you. That becomes important as well. So it's not unusual to go through big changes regarding appearance during this period as well. And I would say that that is a good thing. Okay, a lot of people in Venus retrograde would recommend that you don't change anything drastic, but I would say that it's a good thing, and it's always good to change yourself and evolve and experiment with how you feel regarding to your image. But what I would say if you're thinking of doing anything drastic, for example like cosmetic surgery or so on, that is something that is better left until after the retrograde. You don't really want to go and get that tattoo or major changes to the way you look, which you then will struggle to change back after the retrograde, should your mind change. So something to also consider. So that this is a little bit about the Venus retrograde, and I hope that's been helpful. And if you've enjoyed the video and you felt that it's been useful, please do like and share and subscribe. And good luck with the retrograde period.